We stand at a crossroads and face a fundamental question. Will we continue to support a government that invests in our families, creating a fairer Bermuda for us all? Or will we go back to the failed policies of the past, with the former government that placed the needs of the privileged before the needs of the many? Since 2017, we have fought tirelessly to uplift families, because we believe in a core principle that when families thrive, our entire country thrives. We've expanded access to affordable childcare, easing the financial burden childcare costs for over 100 families. You heard me correctly. Over 100 families received additional support from this government towards their childcare. We've completed over 70 new affordable homes, with over 100 more in the pipeline, as we are determined to do our part to ensure more Bermudian families have secure, safe, and more affordable living arrangements. We've expanded maternity leave and introduced paternal leave, recognizing that parents deserve the time and support they need to care for and bond with their children. Let me be clear. Prior to 2020, there was no legal requirement for fathers to receive paternity leave, but this government addressed it so that every father now has the right to be with their child for the first few days. We increase pensions for our seniors every single year, and it is a commitment we will continue to keep. We also introduced the Financial Assistance Short-Term Relief Benefit to provide immediate financial support for individuals facing unforeseen financial hardships. This means if a person faces sudden hardship, such as a death in the family or job loss, there is now a process for them to receive financial assistance in a more timely manner. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what progress looks like. Now let's talk about the OVA, who refused to increase seniors' pensions, who slashed scholarships for Bermudian students, who sold off Bermuda's only airport to a foreign company in a deal that cost taxpayers millions, who backed the disastrous Morgan Point deal that left Bermudians on the hook for over $200 million and counting. These are not the actions of a government that cares about families. Bermuda, we believe in a fairer Bermuda for us all. Let's keep building a Bermuda that works for all of us. Let's keep fighting for progress, for fairness, and for our families. Thank you.
Good afternoon to members of the media and the listening public. I'm Jason Hayward, MP for Constituency 17, Pembroke Central. The Progressive Labor Party has been unwavering in our commitment to the workers of Bermuda. The Progressive Labor Party remains dedicated to ensuring that every worker has the support they need to build a better and fairer life. Our mission is clear: to provide social protections for those in need, to advance Bermuda's economic growth, to support job seekers, and to ensure fair treatment in the workplace. And the newly created Department of Labor is on the forefront of that mission. Championing the rights of workers and ensuring fairness and equity are not just ideal, but they are realities. Our record of accomplishments has been clear, and our actions demonstrate our commitment to advancing workers' rights. Since regaining office, the Progressive Labor Party has implemented Bermuda's first statutory minimum wage. The Progressive Labor Party has ensured every workplace has a policy in place against workplace bullying and harassment. We've increased compensation for workers' injuries. We have ensured that every worker receives meal breaks. The Progressive Labor Party has protected employees' earned tips and gratuities. We've enabled employees to receive leave after 6 months of employment. We've increased severance pay from 26 weeks to 32 weeks. We've ensured that there is a mandatory consultation period prior to making employees redundant. We've created guidelines to ensure employees are not misclassified as independent contractors rather than employees. And we've reduced payroll tax for 86% of the workers in Bermuda. This government and the Progressive Labor Party also recognizes the vital role that unions play in safeguarding the rights of workers. As a result, the Progressive Labor Party has worked to strengthen our unions by creating provisions for automatic union certification, creating automatic agency SOP promptly during certification, ensuring unions receive 50% of agency shop contributions, and expanding the scope of who can be organized. The partnership we have forged with our union leaders are essential in promoting fair bargaining and ensuring decent working conditions for all. This is in stark contrast to the One Bermuda Alliance, who waged a war with Bermuda's workers with austerity measures, who reduced scholarship funding for our youth, who cut the pay of public sector workers through furloughs, who attempted to pull those through pathways to status, and who privatized our airport, costing taxpayers millions of dollars. Bermuda, we have a choice to make, a choice between continuing to invest in our workers with the PLP, building a fairer Bermuda for all, or turning back to the policies which created hardship and reduced opportunities for our youth. Bermuda, let's choose progress, unity, and fairness for Bermudian workers. Together, we can keep moving forward and ensure that every worker gets the respect, support, and opportunities they deserve. Thank you.
Good morning, Bermuda. Today, I'd like to speak to you about the heart of our families, the backbone of our communities, the driving force behind much progress in our nation, our women. Over the years, women have played a pivotal role in shaping our future as life givers, nurturers, innovators, leaders, entrepreneurs, and champions. The advancement of women has helped to create a more equitable society, bringing awareness to issues that impact our island home. When women rise, Bermuda rises. When we lift up our women who love our men, we lift up our country. And under the Progressive Labor Party, we have made real, meaningful progress to support and empower the women of Bermuda. Under the PLP, we have worked tirelessly to create a Bermuda that values, respects, and invests in women. Let us remind you of what progress looks like. We expanded maternity leave and introduced parental leave because we believe every parent deserves time to care for their newborns and to build a foundation of love and stability for their children. We strengthened workplace protections, passing laws to combat bullying and sexual harassment in the workplace, so every woman could feel safe and valued while doing her job. We criminalized revenge porn, making it illegal to share intimate images without consent, protecting both women and men from digital exploitation and safeguarding their dignity. We enhanced penalties for sexual predators and adopted public notification of sex offenders, taking decisive action to protect our communities and ensure justice for victims while working to provide advanced rehabilitative services for offenders. This is a record of a party that believes in fairness, a party that believes in justice, a party that knows that when we support women, we support our entire society. Bermuda, the choice before us is clear. The Progressive Labor Party stands for the women of Bermuda. We stand for fairness in the workplace, for dignity in healthcare, for opportunity in education, and for respect in every corner of our society. I believe in the strength of our women. I believe in the resilience of our mothers, our daughters, our sisters, and the faith of our grandmothers. And I believe that together we can continue to build a community where every woman is valued, supported, and empowered to thrive. Let's keep moving forward, Bermuda. Let's fight for fairness, for opportunity, and for justice. Because when our women and our men rise, Bermuda rises. Thank you.
Do you have any questions for the panel?
Bermuda Broadcasting, Gary Foster Scotland, good afternoon, thank you, morning. Sorry.
Good morning.
Firstly for Minister Jason Hayward, you shared a list of achievements with regard to benefits afforded to employees and tax breaks for lower earners. Is it your sense that everyone is feeling that benefit? And if so, why is it that we continue to hear that the cost of living remains too high and that Bermudians can't afford to live in their own country?
So these benefits we put in place enshrined in law. So every employee is afforded these benefits according to law. And so these benefits are actually statutory. When we start to talk about the cost of living remains, the high cost of living remains a reality within our society. But the PLP has done much to abate the pressure felt by families in our community by doing a number of measures. We've reduced taxes in a number of areas, including payroll tax. This is all to put more purchasing power in the hands of the Bermudian people so that they can continue to enjoy a high quality of life. The Progressive Labor Party has also reduced fees in a number of areas, which allows for greater levels of purchasing power to be placed in the hands of our residents. We've reduced taxes on staple items so that we try to stabilize prices in our grocery stores. There is a number of things that the Progressive Labor Party has done and will continue to do to ensure that we ease some of the pressures on families in Bermuda based off the cost of living. But the cost of living, to be clear, is a global challenge. It is not unique to Bermuda, but our response to that particular challenge, I believe, is something that we should applaud, number one. But number two, it is a challenge that we will continue to work to address.
And you spoke about the things that the PLP has done in terms of lowering taxes and fees, obviously reduction of payroll tax on lower income earners and benefits. I do want to note, with having both the Labour and Economy Minister and Junior Minister of Finance here, there's an acknowledgement that both after the financial crisis, essentially the last few years of the previous PLP government and almost the entirety of the OBA's tenure were conducted with our biggest contributing sector to the economy having a downturn. That has not happened at all since even through the pandemic, through the tenure of this government. So to what degree does essentially international business for any government in Bermuda determine how the economy goes? Because if you haven't got that money coming in, how can you lower taxes in another area? How can you give benefits? Have we got to acknowledge that whatever government is in, we're leaning on that pillar?
What the government is actually leading on is a business environment that allows businesses to thrive. and the government is a critical piece to that equation. We have a business environment that continues to attract international business and allows for international business to flourish. And we create that environment, the international business flourishes, and then the country reaps the tax benefits derived from international business. And so it is a cyclical process. The international business would not be here if the conditions were not right for business to be here.
Absolutely. But that's been maintained by multiple governments maintained and grown by multiple governments since the 80s. Is that not correct?
I think the expansion that you've seen with international business is a direct result of our business ecosystem. And so we can look and see that in previous years, you've seen the output of international business abate. You've seen employee levels within international business decline as well.
And you think that's because
You
of
now
governments?
see where there are increases in employment levels. We have more persons working in international business than ever before. We have more opportunities for Bermudians in international business than ever before. That has to be partly attributed to the environment that we have set up in Bermuda that allows these businesses to be here and succeed.
But when those businesses lost employees, when those businesses went down during following the financial crisis, that wasn't the responsibility of the PLP or the OBA. That
I'm glad you say that, because notwithstanding that, the government still got the blame for it. When international business was declining in Bermuda, the government got the blame, and we were blamed for term limits and everything else as to why we chased business out of Bermuda. Now that things are going well, you have to attribute part of the success of the industry to the environment that this government has created. If you speak with CEOs of international business, they actually appreciate the political stability. They actually appreciate the leadership and the governance that is currently within the country.
While I appreciate your comments, you do seem to leave the OBA's 4.5-year tenure out of that. They must have been doing something with international business during that period, or is it a blank patch?
You asked me to speak on the OBA's contributions to our economy. When you interview the OBA, you can ask the OBA what they contributed. But I'm here to speak about the Progressive Labor Party. And what is clear is that our economy is thriving underneath the Progressive Labor Party. Notwithstanding, the cost of living remains a challenge. When we look at our GDP numbers, our annual GDP for 2023 exceeded our expectations. When we look at the GDP for the year 2024, our first and second quarter GDP numbers were combined to be just over 7.5%. That is rapid expansion. And so the economic indicators show that our economy is moving forward, that we are increasing the number of jobs in our economy, that we are increasing the number of opportunities for Bermudians in our economy as well.
Okay, thank you, Minister.
Good morning, Gareth Finnegan, Royal Gazette. Actually, Minister Hayward, if I could start with you. First of all, you said in 2022 that you wanted to attract, or Bermuda needed to attract, 8,000 foreign workers. Mm-hmm. And at that time, you gave a timeline of 5 years. You wanted to achieve that by 2027. You've later said that that date was perhaps a little bit ambitious. So what have you done since 2017 or since 2022? What policies have you put in place to attract those 8,000 workers? How many have you attracted? And should the PLP get elected next month, what will you be doing to continue that growth?
The first thing that we done was we developed the economic development strategy. The economic development strategy was specifically designed to create economic activity across multiple industrial areas so that we can increase the amount of jobs in those areas, and then we can fill those jobs, number one, with able-bodied Bermudians, but then secondly, with the expatriate labor, where there was a gap between the supply and the demand of labor. What we currently see now is year-over-year positive growth in employment numbers. When you have increase in economic activity, sometimes job growth is a little bit lagging. But we have opportunities ahead of us. With the opening of Fairmount Southampton, we will see over 700 jobs. That is direct jobs. That would also increase more indirect jobs within our economy as well. If we have another establishment like with the likes of Elbow Beach open up, that will be hundreds more jobs. And so we can clearly see where we have the ability within our economy to create jobs. And we will continue down the path and the trend and the trajectory that we're currently off with creating jobs year after year.
How many foreign workers have you attracted so far?
I think the employment brief clearly state the job growth year over year and the.
Does it give exact figures? Sorry.
Correct, definitely. And so if you look at the employment briefs for any given year, it will give you the breakdown of Bermudians and non-Bermudian employment.
Okay, now you mentioned how the government has worked to create an environment where businesses thrive. But earlier you talked about, and Mr. Adams talked about things that are done to provide more social support.
Mm-hmm.
Things like maternity leave, workers' rights, those sorts of things. Aren't those things really hindering businesses? Because they make it more expensive to do business in Bermuda. If you're a company or you just want to start up a business, if you have to, give maternity leave or paternity leave and those sorts of things, isn't that going to hamstring businesses?
There is a thought process that believes that if you improve the quality of life and the workplace benefits of your employees, those employees are happier employees and more productive employees, and actually the employer actually benefits from their labor. And so I don't view it from that lens. I come from the trade union movement where we consistently worked with employers to increase the benefits of employees. Moving into the government space, I continue with that same philosophy. I believe that we should expand the rights of employees within the workplace. We should improve the working environment, and thus we will see greater levels of productivity in the workplace as well.
Okay, now you mentioned earlier about one of the first things that you did to create employment was the development of the economic development plan.
Mm-hmm.
In actual fact, that wasn't the first thing that you did, was it? We had the economic recovery plan that preceded that, and that seemed to be a complete failure, didn't it? I mean, how many things on that list of? I think there was something like 25, 30 odd initiatives that were going to kickstart the economy, and half of them have failed to take off. You talked about vertical farming. With all
due respect, you are 100% incorrect.
Well, okay,
We have put out a report in terms of the work that we've done in terms of the economic recovery plan, and what you would find is that we've completed and advanced 86% of the items within the economic recovery plan. There are only a handful of items left that we were unable to successfully complete. So the narrative you're putting out there that the economic recovery plan was a complete failure is incorrect. Secondly, it cannot be a complete failure when our economy has turned around from the pandemic. The plan was designed to ensure that we have economic rebound after the pandemic, and our economy has rebounded after the pandemic. So I don't know how you can classify that as a failure. And I don't accept your notion.
Okay, good. So let me ask you specifically, what happened to vertical farming? There are in actual fact 4 initiatives that out of all the initiatives on the economic recovery plan that were going to sort of kickstart the economy. One of them was vertical farming, the other was casinos. And this was 3-4 years ago. What's happened to them?
So I will allow MP Adams, who is also the chairman of BEDC, to speak a little bit about vertical farming and the work that we're doing in that particular space. 'Cause, 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 '
Thank you, Minister. In specific to the vertical farming, I would not say it's a failure. I think it is something that is particularly being worked on and being advanced. Discussions are still being had. We are proud of the progress that we've made thus far. I would say that it has not come without its challenges, but it is nothing that we will not envision to overcome. And so it is still a part of our economic recovery plan. It is still one of the priority items that you mentioned, and it is something that we continue to focus on, and we fully expect for it to be achieved.
Okay, well, in actual fact, Wayne Thurber, who was, I believe, Minister for the Cabinet at the time in November of 2020, held a press conference in which he said that government had been in talks with a vertical farming company in Florida, I think it was, or New York, for the previous 6 months. And that, you know, this was something that they hoped to sort of achieve, government hoped to achieve sort of in the following year. That was 5 years ago. And you've just said, regarding vertical farming, you're pleased with the progress that you've made. What progress have you made?
We have had advanced discussions, and we are very.
Sorry, Minister, to cut you off. You had advanced discussions 5 years ago.
So here's the thing. What we're going to do, you're going to ask a question, and I can answer. So you asked me, what progress have we made? We have made advanced discussions on negotiations in terms of the structure of the deal. But also, as you would know, that I articulated the fact that we have come across some challenges, without question, that has caused delays with our advancement, but that has not stopped our advancement, and we continue to have those discussions. And I said to you that I fully expect that particular initiative to come into fruition. So we are proud of the progress we've made, notwithstanding that we've come across challenges that have caused delays, absolutely. But we will continue to work towards developing that particular initiative and all initiatives within our economic recovery plan so that we can fulfill and build a better economy for Bermuda.
Okay, so when do you expect vertical farming to come to fruition?
I don't want to fall into the same trap and give you a date and a time. So what I can say is we continue to advance, and we are very well confident that in particular initiative will come into fruition. Notwithstanding the fact that part of the challenges is recognizing the feedback that we received from farmers. And so we have to, listen. And so we continue to have discussions with our farmers as well to ensure that what we produce works for the greater population.
Okay, when was the last time you spoke to any farmers?
Certainly within the last month or two.
Okay. Now, what about casinos? What's happening with that?
Is that particularly for me?
But the government has made it clear the challenges that we're having with casinos. That has been widely reported on. I don't think that anyone is absent of the fact regarding the challenges we're having with our banks and our banks' ability to bank the proceeds of casinos. That has been an impediment to us moving forward with casinos. And so that's where the buck stops.
But also, Minister, you know, everybody knows that that the government has faced challenges. The question people have is, the government appears to be failing to overcome those challenges. These challenges have been going on for years. You know, when were casinos expected to open? It's several years ago, just like vertical farming. We're talking, it was meant to be 2021, 2022. So here we are in 2025. And you say, oh, we've got challenges. Well, what are you doing to overcome those challenges?
So that's two initiatives. But then we can have a laundry list of all of the successful things that the government has done, all of the things that we were able to bring to fruition, all of the things that are actually benefiting the people of Bermuda. And if you ask the people of Bermuda about vertical farming, that is very low on their priority list. But if you ask, if you ask the people of Bermuda as it pertains to their employment rights and their quality of life, those sorts of things are very high on their list. And those sorts of things are the areas I outlined today in which we have successfully advanced on behalf of the people of Bermuda.
I doubt that many people would say that the quality of life has improved in the last couple of years due to the high cost of living, primarily. Do you think that the vast majority of people feel better off that their lives are better?
I think that the vast majority of people would agree that implementing the minimum wage in Bermuda is a positive thing for our society. I think the vast majority of people would agree that increasing severance pay is a positive thing for our society. I think that the majority of people would agree that increasing protections against workplace bullying and harassment is a positive thing for our society. I think that the majority of people will agree that increasing paternity leave is a positive thing for our society. Increasing maternity leave is a positive thing for our society. And so when we start to talk about the things that the majority of people will agree upon, we need to talk about those things that impact their lives, and we have progressed in a number of areas. When we start to talk about the child daycare allowance, those families who are benefiting from the child daycare allowance would agree that that was a positive policy. When we start to talk about the mortgage guarantee program, families in Bermuda would agree that that is a positive policy. And so there are things, achievements we've made that should be recognized and should be celebrated. Notwithstanding that, we recognize that we have to make progress in other areas, and we will do so.
Okay, Minister. So you talk about things like maternity leave and minimum wage and stuff like that, but that's not really helping people when the economy's tanking, is it?
I disagree. And I think that you would have to be in that position to receive those benefits, to actually recognize the importance of those benefits to the workers of Bermuda.
So actually, it was Mr. Adams who talked about creating a society in which families can thrive. But again, would you say that a single mum who has to get child support or somebody on financial assistance, are they thriving?
They may not be thriving, all may not be thriving, but there is no additional support. We've increased social protections across the board so that mother, right,
Yeah.
has a better journey than she had prior to us
But you're
increasing
not-
those particular
you wouldn't say she's
protections.
thriving.
Governance is about making continual progress on an ongoing basis, and that's what we've been doing.
One final question on the same issue, really. When I Crockwell at her press conference on Wednesday, she said that she made the point that okay, you're providing financial support, financial assistance, a safety net to those really at the bottom of the economic ladder. But that doesn't address the problem. You can't just throw money at it. What you need to be doing is creating a society where businesses can thrive and people don't need to be on child support.
And that is good. And so that's why we reform financial assistance so that persons are on personal employment plans, because we're empowering persons while they're receiving assistance. And if you look at the numbers, the number of able-bodied persons on financial assistance has dropped by about a third. And so that is at one of its lowest levels in a long time, the amount of able-bodied persons on financial assistance. And it has to be because we've created job opportunities, there's job opportunities in society, and we've empowered people to transition off of financial assistance as well.
But you're taking credit for creating jobs when the vast majority of them are in the IB sector or private companies like Southampton Princess and you mentioned Elbow Beach, which seems to be coming down the line.
The majority
How does government take credit?
The majority of jobs in our economy will always be in the private sector because government certainly can employ the majority of people within our economy. So when jobs increase and we have an economy where economy that allows business to expand, that is a positive thing, and it has to be a result of government policy. If government increases taxes on businesses, then businesses has to make a decision whether or not they're gonna expend labor. But when we lower taxes on businesses, it allows businesses to reinvest in their business, expand their business lines, and as a result, that is what we see. We've lowered taxes on businesses, and that allows businesses to do further expansion.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you.
One question, to the Minister of Finance. There is speculation that Bermuda's debt is doubled, around $6 billion. Can you quiet the naysayers? And we haven't heard the figures on what the debt is.
So in most cases, when people refer to that figure, they're also referring to our underfunded liabilities. That is not necessarily categorically what debt is. Our net debt is at $3.3 billion. It has remained at $3.3 billion. The only times that this government, under this administration since 2017, has increased our debt is number one, to facilitate and cover our Morgan's Point deal, and the second was to facilitate and cover the future deficits expected as a result of COVID. So those are the only times that this government has increased our debt. I can say that in December of 23, this government actually made sure to make a debt repayment of $50 million. So in actual fact, since COVID, we've actually seen our gross debt decline. As a result of corporate income tax, we certainly have projections and a pathway to ensure that 18% of our debt is met by January of 27.
Thank you very much.
One additional, and it's more specifically to you, Minister Hayward, and one of the we've seen it in the reports that this government has put out about our aging population. One of the major ways to reduce cost of living, reduce the cost of healthcare, reduce it, etc., is the increase of the working population. We did see an increase in working population last year, about 900 more jobs. Vast majority of them were non-Bermudian. Gives you the impression that we may have a lot more guest workers. We'll await results of the employment survey for 2024 to see how that continues. But this government did back off on a couple of the maybe interpreted more controversial plans to make PRC easier to obtain. Essentially, knowing that how much that impacts cost of living, immigration, and the working population, if this government gets back into power on February 18th, can we expect that things like the making PRC easier to get, adjusting immigration to bring in more working population, can we expect that we'll be seeing those quickly after that election?
I wouldn't use the term quickly. We have always been measured in our approach as to how we move forward. And we're always reminded not to move too far in front of what the population is willing to accept. And I articulated to you in the past that when I done the consultation regarding that, what I identified were there were a number of concerns raised by Bermudians in the international business sector in particular. And right now, I want to work through those concerns first and foremost before I progress any initiative that may make them feel uncomfortable.
Thank you.
Thank you.